Hi everyone, and welcome to this grade 9 mathematics lesson where we're going to be calculating the gradient of a line. My name is Miss Donnell Phillips. Let's get started. So in our previous lesson, we would have started to explore what exactly a gradient is and how we could tell the type of gradient a line has based on the direction that it is sloping and all of that. In this lesson, we're going to go one step further and actually calculate the gradient of given lines. Now, the gradient or the slope of a straight line is the change in vertical distance divided by the change in horizontal distance. And if we could recall, on a Cartesian plane, we have the y-axis and the x-axis. The y-axis is the axis that runs in the vertical direction. And anytime we're moving on the y-axis, we're only going to be moving up or down. When we move up, it means that the value that we're moving would be a positive value. Or whenever we're moving down, the answer that we're going to get, or the specific number of places that we're moving, would actually be a negative value. On the x-axis, on the other hand, we could only move left to right because it's an horizontal axis. And whenever we move to the right, we're moving in the positive direction, so depends on how many units to the right we would have moved, the value would be positive. When we move to the left, however, because we're moving to the left, the value then would be negative. So on the y-axis, up means positive, down means negative. On the x-axis, to the right means positive, and to the left means negative. So here we have a graph, and we're going to use this graph to see how we're going to go about calculating the gradient of any graph. So on this graph, we have 2 points that are identified. The first point, 0, 5, and the second point, 4, 2. In order for us to move from the first point to the second point, we have to move to the right and then down. Recall that whenever we're moving on the x-axis, as long as we're moving to the right, it means that the value would be positive. When we're moving on the y-axis, whenever we go up, it's positive. But in this case, because we're going down, the value would be negative. So we moved 4 places to the right, that's the horizontal distance, and then we moved 3 places down, that's the vertical distance. So in order for us to calculate the slope, we need to take the change in the horizontal distance, that is, we moved 3 places down, so that's -3, and we have to divide that by the change in the horizontal distance. So we moved 4 places to the right, that's +4. So the gradient of this would just be -3 divided by +4, which is just -3 over 4. And in the previous lesson, we know that as long as a line is sloping downward, it has a negative gradient. This is evident here. Here we have another example. On this line, the 2 points that are identified are 5, 1 and 3, 4. In order for us to move from the first point to the second point, we would have to move 2 places to the left on the x-axis. That's why we have a -2, and then 3 places up. So in this example, because the change in the y is 3 and the change in x is -2, the slope for this would be -3 over 2. Again, because this line is sloping downwards, it has a negative gradient. Next example. On this line, the 2 points that are identified are -2, -1, and +4, +3. In order for us to move from the first point to the second point, we have to move on the x-axis first. And in this case, we're moving to the right. That means that the value for that is going to be positive or negative? Positive. So we move to the right, that's going to be a positive, and then we move up, that is also going to be a positive number. So we moved 6 places to the right and then 4 places up. So remember the change in y, so the y value here is going to be 4 and the x value here is going to be 6. Positive 4 divided by positive 6. That would be the gradient. Now in this case we have positive 4 over positive 6. It can be broken down. When it's broken down, we're left with 2 over 3. And we can see why this line has a positive gradient, because it is sloping upwards. So for your homework, you're going to find the slope of the given lines. We have 3. In the first graph, the 2 points that are identified are positive 6, negative 1, and positive 3, positive 5. In the second graph, we have negative 2, 4, and 4, 4. And in the final graph, we have 3, 1, and 3, 5. So to summarize today's lesson, the gradient of a straight line is a change in the vertical distance divided by the change in the horizontal distance. When we move on the x-axis to find the horizontal distance, number 1, to the right means that the value is positive and to the left means that the value is negative. But when we move on the y-axis to find the vertical distance, up means the value is positive and down means the value is negative. This has brought us to the end of this grade 9 mathematics lesson, where we would have been calculating the gradient of a line. My name is Miss Donnell Phillips. See you next time.